movement coach. I teach yoga, Pilates, Eldoa, and I've studied lots of breathing practices. Welcome back to the breathing part 2. In our last little practice, we were looking at the mechanics of the diaphragm and the shape of our lungs, and we were looking at the connection of the eyes and the diaphragm. So hopefully you had a chance to practice that and observe yourself throughout the day, possibly observe yourself working at the computer, and I'm hopeful that you gave yourself some little breaks and started to come more and more into that diaphragmatic breath with soft eyes every once in a while. And starting to practice the exercises before you go to sleep, 4, 4, and 4. Hopefully that's made a little bit of a difference for you, perhaps. Now let's look at some ways that we can start to open the body and get a little more access to our lungs. If we've been breathing in that shallow, jagged breathing pattern for a long period of time, there's a really good chance we've been using our upper chest muscles, even some of our neck muscles, to assist in that short, shallow breath. That means these muscles are going to start to get really tight and really sore. Many people experience chronic neck pain, chronic headaches, all kinds of things. It starts to affect our posture. The heart starts to kind of sink back as these muscles get really tight. These muscles are not designed to do the everyday 24/7 work of breathing. The muscles closest to the center of our body, especially the diaphragm, they don't get tight very easily. They're very strong, very resilient muscles that don't hold a lot of tension. Those muscles are designed for that heavy work of breathing, not our neck, delicate muscles up here. So if these muscles are really tight, we need to address that and flip the work of the breath down into the middle part of our body. One way to think about this is like a triangle, a breathing triangle. The base, the point of the triangle should be up about here, and that's the entry point for the breath into the torso. And the base of our triangle should be this way. So the bulk of the work of our breathing is happening here. What tends to happen is that triangle gets flipped, and we have a triangle that looks something like this. So the main part of the work of the breath is happening up here, and we keep creating a lot of tension in our neck and our shoulders. You can go and get a wonderful massage, and it's going to release that tension until you start breathing in that shallow, jagged breathing pattern again. Then these muscles are all just going to tighten right back up. So it's not a practical way to just get a massage every day, although that sounds lovely. We need to shift the breathing so that the benefit of our massage is going to last much longer, and we get out of the pattern of perpetuating this upper neck, chest tension in our shoulders, in our neck, giving us headaches, and the tension moves into our skull. Let's flip the triangle so that the base of our breathing is down here at the center of our body. Okay, so let's take a look at some ways that we can release some of these tight muscles and open our body up to our breathing a little bit more. Let's start off looking at the spine. Hopefully you're sitting somewhere where you're not slumped back in your chair, but you're able to feel your sit bones. You could be in a chair. You could be sitting on the floor on a cushion like I am. Doesn't really matter. If you're sitting in a chair, sit to the front edge of your chair. Okay, feeling those 2 sit bones. Let's tip the pelvis back. Keep your shoulders floating over your ribs. We want to move the spine into a nice round C shape, opening up the back of your spine, and your eyes are looking down. Float your head up, pass through the midline, then tip your pelvis forward a little bit. The shoulders are going to kind of slide back as we open the chest and lift the eyes. And then let's tip the pelvis back. Thinking of your pelvis like a bowl of water, we're going to pour the water out the back of the pelvis. The whole spine is going to round into flexion. Then we're going to float up through the midline where we feel the tallest. Tip your pelvis forward now, like you're pouring water out your belly button. Lift your heart, lift your eyes. Exhale, roll the pelvis back. Open up the back of the spine. Now we're kind of squeezing the front of the discs, sloshing the liquid to the back of our discs. And we float up. As we tip the pelvis forward, we give a nice squeeze at the back of the discs, and all the fluid of the discs sloshes a little bit forward. So we could call this exercise sloshing the discs, which is the only way our discs get fluid exchange is through movement. So moving through these positions and massaging the discs of the spine is a great way to bring some health into your spine, some health into the discs. Let's bring the breath into it. We exhale as we pull the heart back. And we inhale as we open the chest. I actually like to call this exercise spinal breathing. So let's imagine the breath is going into a plumb line right into our spine. We exhale, squeeze the air out of the lungs. As you inhale, imagine you're filling up your spine with your breath, opening the chest. Relax your jaw, soften your eyes. You could also imagine your body is like a sail. Right now, as I open my chest, the wind is at my back. And as I exhale, the wind is at my front, catching the sail, and it rounds back. Whatever image works best for you, make it feel organic. It should feel like a nice massage. We're also rolling the pelvis, so the hip sockets are moving around the ball of the femoral head. As I tip my pelvis forward, my knees need to glide forward a little bit. As I tip my pelvis back, the knees are going to glide back a little. Okay, so let's find the middle now. We're right up on our sit bones. The tailbone and the sacrum are free, and the head is just floating. So we've looked at flexion and extension, so that's one movement of the spine. Let's reach the right hand across, bring your left hand behind, and we'll do some rotation. So we're going to turn from the bottom, from those lumbar vertebrae, turn the ribs, turn the eyes. Use your hand to help you here, a little bit of a passive twist. And let's come back. We're going to switch sides, bring the left hand across, right hand behind. Look around the corner with your eyes and take a few breaths. Start to feel the diaphragm moving. Hopefully, if you've been practicing, you're starting to feel a little more aware of your diaphragm, a little more connected to that great big muscle dividing the upper and lower torso. Let's come back. We're going to repeat that rotation. Just rest your palms at the center of your chest. We're going to use the spinal muscles now to turn the lumbar vertebra, turn the ribs, the jaw, the eyes, look around the corner, and then come back. We're going to allow the pelvis to shift a little bit so that right side of my pelvis pulls back just a little. Turn the lumbar, turn the ribs, turn the eyes, and come back. Let's do that one more time. Turning to the left, just turning each vertebra. So we think of them like on the table plane. So each vertebra, it's like walking up a spiral staircase as we look around the corner. And come back. One more time the other way. And come back. Great. So we've done flexion and extension, and we've done some rotation. So let's just do a little bit of side bending. We're going to reach the right arm up to the sky. Let's reach up tall, reach up through the top of your head. Get really tall and long here. Then I'm going to tip over to the side. I want to fan open the ribs, open up the side of the spine. I'm sitting on the floor, so I'm going to put my hand here on the floor. But if you're in a chair, you might just have the other hand on your thigh or on the armrest. Let your head fall. Now I want you to really send the breath into those side ribs and start to feel some movement on that side of the diaphragm. Imagine you're mostly breathing into the right lung. Create a little bit of pressure there. As the diaphragm pushes down, there's more pressure into the lower torso. Actively feel some movement. If you can't quite feel it, just tap the bottom ribs there. Make your brain pay attention to this part of the body. That's what the tapping does. The proprioceptors, the connection to the brain in that part of your body starts to wake up. This is going to give a nice stretch to the diaphragm. Let's allow the head to circle forward. Bring your arms forward. Your body will be a little bit rounded in the center. And then let's roll up, sitting up, nice and tall. Let's do the other side. The left arm is reaching up. Reach all the way up to the sky. Get nice and tall, like you can pull the bones of the spine apart. Lift up and over so we don't lose all of that space we just found. Begin to let your head fall. So we're opening up the left side ribs. If you want to just tap that area, imagine you're breathing mostly into your left lung. Create some pressure so the diaphragm is moving on that left side. Stretching the diaphragm on the left side, all the way around the ribs. Keep letting the head fall. Take another breath here. And then we can circle forward, just like we did on the other side. Circle the head forward. Pull the heart in. Circle around your heart. And then we're going to roll up, head last. Good. Sitting tall here, find the center, and take a few breaths. After having stretched the diaphragm a little bit, you feel a little more access. Do you feel a little more connected? If you're still working on discovering and feeling or embodying the diaphragm movement, just put your hands into the shape. As you inhale, the diaphragm drops down. And as you exhale, the diaphragm pushes up to the heart. When I inhale, the diaphragm pushes down, the pressure moves down into my lower body. And as I exhale, the diaphragm pushes up. Take a couple more breaths. Remember to soften the eye focus, take in peripheral space. I find it helpful to just let my eyes drop down and a little bit away from me. Hopefully you can feel the lowest ribs moving as you're breathing. Great. Let's address some of the neck tension now. So we're going to get a little more intricate into the neck. So we're going to reach the right hand out. Let's just wind and unwind the hand a few times, turning the ball in the socket. Create some space around that humeral head, the shoulder ball. We're going to open the palm away from us and bend the wrist, just so you can see my hand. I'm going to push out and down through my hand to give a little space into the socket. Now I'm going to tip my head away from that shoulder. Lengthen and flatten out the spine. Lift up from the bottom of the skull, especially on that right side. As I push out through my hand, spread my fingers wide. It looks like this. I'm going to create space in the shoulder socket. Flatten, lengthen out the spine. Let my head fall. Keeping this position, I'm going to also just kind of now turn my head so that I could look at my right shoulder, still lifting up from that notch on the bottom of the skull. So on that right side of the occiput, I'm lifting up to flatten out the spine. One more breath. And then I'm going to soften my arm and float my head back to the center. Let's do that on the other side, reaching the left arm out. We're going to wind and unwind, turn the thumb all the way to the back, and then all the way the other direction. Then let's bend at the wrist, open the palm. My palm looks like this. I'm going to push away from me to drop the shoulder and start to tip my head away from that arm. You might already notice that you might have one side tighter than the other side. Lengthen and flatten out the spine. Lift up from the bottom of your skull, this time on the left side especially, lifting up, up, up. Soft, easy breath. Now I'm going to look for the sensation. Where do I feel the tightest? I could lower my chin slightly, or I could lift my chin slightly. If I lift my chin, I'm going to feel it more to the front of the neck. If I lower my chin, I'm going to feel it a little more in the back. So find the spot where you're holding tension in your neck and release it now through your exhale, through the breathing. We'd like to bring in the fascia of the spine. So we want to get tall here, sit bones heavy, lift up. Now we're going to make it a little bit deeper. Turn, keeping the head tipped to the side. I'm going to turn as if I could look at my left shoulder, kind of winding the neck a little bit. 3 more breaths. Then I'm going to soften my arm and float my head back to the center. Good. Give your head a gentle wiggle. Give the ribs a gentle wiggle. Relax your jaw. Take a few breaths. And see what you notice. Take in peripheral space with your eyes. Get a sense of the diaphragm pushing down as you fill up the lowest part of your lungs, and the diaphragm pushes up on the exhale. This central pump moving in your body is going to allow all the organs to do what they need to do quite effortlessly. The diaphragm is a really important dance partner to your heart. Your heart is not the only pump. The diaphragm moving really assists your heart. Your heart gets really happy when we start to breathe with the diaphragm. There have been actually a lot of studies done on that. The connection of diaphragmatic breathing and heart health has been studied quite widely and very well proven. Okay, take a couple more breaths here. Soft and slow. Remember, a really good way to start is to ask yourself, could my breath be a little bit softer? Could my breath be just a little bit slower, quieter? We're making some movement, some expansion to this part of our lungs, the low part here, but it doesn't mean we have to fill or push maximum breath into our lungs. Gentle, gentle, effortless breathing. Great. So in our first practice, we looked at the 4, 4, and 4 breath, where we inhale for 4 counts, hold for 4. We exhale for 4 and hold for 4. Let's take that to the next step. If the shallow, jagged breathing is that hyperventilation that we want to get away from, how about we start to breathe nice and slow, nice and soft, with gentle waves? We're going to do a soft inhale that spills into an exhale, and we're going to have a pause at the end. So that's going to be our next version of that exercise. We're going to inhale soft and easy for 4 counts. Inhale. Exhale. 2, 3, 4. We're going to hold on empty lungs for 5 counts. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale softly. Exhale. Hold on empty lungs. 2, 3, 4, 5. Inhale, fill up the lowest part of your lungs. Exhale. And hold, empty lungs. 4, 5. Inhale. So you don't have to use counts actually. I'm going to give you the principles so that you can create your own exercise. You do a soft inhale that spills into a soft exhale. When your lungs feel empty, practice a breath hold here on empty lungs. Maybe you do 4 counts, 5 counts. Maybe once in a while you do a 10 count hold. The main thing is that when you start to breathe again, it's very soft and easy. If we've held the breath too long and we've created some stress in the body, it's going to go like this. And you have to take a big gasping breath in. That's not what we want to do. We want to stay in that zone of soft, easy. Think of gentle rolling hills as opposed to sharp, jagged mountains. Gentle rolling hills. Playing with that breath hold. So another way of looking at this is we're actually practicing some reduced breathing. We're actually practicing some breath holds that are going to help build up the CO2 in our body. When we have a better balance of oxygen and CO2, then our body can actually digest the breathing. Our body can actually use then the oxygen that we're breathing in. Let's play with this a little bit more. I'd like you to have the freedom to do this exercise in a way that serves you, in a way that's going to help you slow the breathing down. So I'm going to do it again with no counts so that you get the principle. We're going to inhale very softly. And that's going to naturally spill into an exhale. Tuck the tummy in and hold. Hold on empty lungs for as long as you feel comfortable. And when you're ready to take a breath in, you just let the breath come in soft and easy. And when you're ready to exhale, you let it go. Holding on empty lungs. And then take another breath in. We'll just do it one more time. Every once in a while, it might feel really good to take a great big massive breath where you get to stretch the diaphragm, stretch the lungs, and then let it go. And that's fine. Think of the breaths like waves in the ocean. Every once in a while, there's a great big wave, and then a couple of smaller waves, and then there might be a medium-sized wave, and some smaller waves. So just let the breath express itself. Let it be whatever it needs to be. Every once in a while, it feels really soothing to give yourself that great big stretch. It's almost like a yawn inside your body. And then come back to soft and gentle. Let's look at one more aspect of this. I think you understand now the principle around the breath hold at the end of the exhale. So let's just look at another aspect of this. I want you to start to find the passive quality of the breath, and this is going to be connected to the movement of the ribs as you breathe. Now, the ribs are attached to the spine at the back, to the transverse processes, so the outside part, the outside little pinches of the spine, the ribs hook in there. When we breathe, the ribs actually kind of swing out like bucket handles, and as we exhale, they drop back down. So you can put your hands on your ribs and just feel that or imagine that. As you inhale, access the diaphragm, the ribs kind of swing out and up. That gives us the feeling that the rib cage widens. As we exhale, they kind of swing back down. So we're going to unstick the whole diaphragm and we're going to let that movement happen. Here's a little exercise to encourage that. We did do this at the very end of the first practice, but let's do it a little more intently now. So this is also an exercise to help wake up the deeper abdominal muscles. Now keep in mind, this is a specific exercise. We don't have to squeeze our abdominal muscles to help our exhale. We're doing this as an exercise to help wake up the diaphragm and wake up the springing action of the ribs when we breathe. The good news is that if your ribs are moving, since they're attached to the spine, that means your spine is also moving with the breath. The way we're designed is that if we're doing full diaphragmatic breath, there's going to be a little lift off the discs on the inhale and then a gentle squeeze to the discs on the exhale. The curves of the spine all get a little bit bigger as we inhale, and then they get a little smaller as we exhale. If we breathe with our diaphragm, there's that natural movement of the spine that's going to help to keep our discs healthy. If you think about it, if the diaphragm is stuck and not moving, we are compressing our discs all day long. If we do the shallow, jagged breath, there's no decompression, compression at the level of the disc, which is a really healthy way for the fluid exchange in the discs to happen. If we stay stuck, the diaphragm's not moving, the discs are getting compressed. Even worse, if we stay stuck in a position of flexion, the discs are getting squeezed from the front, all the pressure is going to the back, and we stay this way all day long. The discs are not designed for that. They're designed to feel equal pressure from above and below, not more pressure on one side. That's how we can get a herniated disc just from sitting. So let's just keep the natural curves of our spine, create equal pressure from above and below at the level of the disc. If we do breathing that involves the low part of our ribs, we know we're lifting off the discs on an inhale and they're getting a nice compression as we exhale. Let's put the hands at the tummy. We're going to use our abdominal muscles. So as you inhale, take a soft breath into your hands. And as you exhale, first part is passive. At the very end, we're going to squeeze the abdominal muscles together. Squeeze the last bit of air out, and then simply relax your belly and let the diaphragm kick into action. Good, and then just keep it going. When you're ready, you're going to exhale again. At the end of your exhale, tuck your tummy in. Squeeze, squeeze the last little bit of air out. Then relax your belly and feel the ribs kind of spring into action. Let's do it again. When you're ready to exhale, let the air out slowly, softly. At the end of your exhale, tuck your tummy in. Squeeze the abdominal muscles, the last bit of air out. Then simply relax the belly and keep it going. Fill your lungs one last time. When you're ready, exhale. Tuck your tummy in. Squeeze, squeeze. Relax your belly and breathe. Great. Let's just rest the hands comfortably. We'll do our last few breaths here, following the breath in through your nose, out through your nose. Take in peripheral space. Remember, the base of your triangle is here so that we don't flip it around and start working for our breath from our upper torso. The work of the breath is in the center. And just take your last few soft breaths here. Great. So now you have a new practice to do at night before you go to sleep. A long, slow inhale followed by a long, slow exhale and a pause. A soft inhale, soft exhale, followed by a pause. You can play with the pause. You can make it longer, you can make it shorter. If doing the breathing work creates a little bit of anxiety, anxiousness, or discomfort, come back to the 4-4-4 breath. It's kind of like a square. Inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4. This one is a little more gentle to help disrupt the jagged breathing pattern. As that one gets easier for you, come back to the inhale, spilling into exhale, followed by a pause. Play with lengthening the pause. So you've got a few things to work with. I hope that serves you well. Start to notice the muscles around the eyes. Slow the breathing down. And get connected to your diaphragm. It could be one of the most important muscles in your body for your health. All roads lead back to the breath. Our mental awareness is connected to our breathing. Our emotional feelings are connected to our breathing. So if we can shift the breathing, we can help our physical body, we can help our central nervous system. We get all the muscles moving in a nice, easy pattern, effortless. We improve our mental state, our emotional state, our feelings. Everything gets a little bit better when our breathing improves. Thank you so much for joining me.